It's the Andy Thompson Show on ESPN 97.7.
With the music and all the sound, it's all the same. Somehow we still figure out ways to screw it up, Larry.
Yes.
All right. What do we got?
Skeeter Beaters on the Andy Thompson Show.
Backfield. Hurts. Barkley dropped it.
Oh, boy, Larry.
You were wrong about the Eagles last night, stupid.
All right, hold on. What is he saying?
You were wrong about the Eagles last night, stupid.
I don't understand Sambo. He's gone off the deep end because of your influence, Larry. I was wrong on the Eagles. I feel bad for Eagles fans. Heck, Joe, our guy from Advanced Windows, is a big Eagles fan. 3rd and 3, love to play. Draw it up. Saquon drops the ball, you know. He's got more drops since 2022 than any other running back in the NFL, I think I saw. Loved seeing Covey. A.J. Brown was out. They put in Covey. Joystick at the slot position. He had 6 targets, 6 catches for Britton Covey for no yards. I mean, he had like 6 catches for 24 yards or something like that. So not great on the yardage, but he did have that big first down on 3rd down where Jalen Hurts had all day to throw, scrambling around. Who comes open for him? Britton Covey. And by the way, Covey, our guy, Larry, one of the best punt returners in the league last year as far as average per return and stuff like that. I knew Eagles fans that were wanting him out. They were saying, this guy stinks. His rookie year, put him on the practice squad. They did that to him a couple times. This year, he's not only their return man, but getting chances with A.J. Brown's injury. He's got a hammy. Who knows how long he's going to be out. But it was good to see Covey. Good for Cousins getting it done in prime time. We like Cousins. I thought he whined and was a crybaby a little bit too much in that Netflix show about his ribs. He was constantly whining about his ribs hurting. Constantly. It's like, enough. But I was happy to see Cousins do well. I thought he had no chance. You know, he had to get 7, and he did with like a minute 30 left or whatever. Was that all we had there, Larry?
Yes.
Oh, I wanted to say Covey's size. There's no such thing as too small for the NFL anymore if you're a receiver. Size does not matter. Does not matter. You know, all of these, I don't want to compare Covey to the best in the league, but I'm just saying Tyreek small, Elijah Moore small with the Browns, Waddle's small. Waddle's 5'10". Christian, I know some of these guys are outside receivers, but I'm just saying, especially that slot joystick where you're just running option routes and all that stuff, the thing that took Tom Brady to the Hall of Fame, the greatest of all time. You know what I'm talking about? The Edelman and the Welker position. He's shifty enough and good enough to get open on those routes. Maybe not as a top 4 receiver on your team, but as a guy who can get 15, 20 catches a year, Larry.
Yes.
I was so happy to see. And Devonta Smith loves Covey. Loves him. He's his best friend on the team, Larry. I was listening to an interview, you know, Smith scored and Covey came and kind of helped him out with his celebration. I don't know if you caught that. It was kind of funny because it's usually A.J. Brown and Covey was late. And so it was kind of funny, but I cheer for Covey. And Covey's one of these guys that brings Utah fans and BYU fans together. I think BYU fans cheer for Covey.
Yes.
2. All right. We got Katie?
No.
Wow. No Katie today?
No.
Her and Sam, I don't know what they think. Like we're just so happy if they show up to work. Like we're just desperate for them to come to work every day. And if they don't, we're going to fall apart. Is that what Katie thinks? That she's the star of the show? I mean, she's kind of becoming... You've always been a prima donna. Sambo, who is a lowly, unpaid intern, now he's becoming a prima donna. And heaven forbid, Katie has become the same thing, where she just kind of shows up. She shows up late. She mailed in her news report yesterday. And I'm very disappointed in all 3 of you. All right, Larry, what do you got?
The Sport Hole.
Boy, Sports.
2-minute drill.
1-0 delivery. Hammered down the line in right field, and it is fair and slides into third for an RBI triple.
Presented by Ideal Home and Auto Paint.
Touchdown! 27 yards. They make it look so easy.
All right, we got three more games in Region 9 football this weekend. And we've got all three of them for you. We got Hurricane up to Cedar. That game will be on our sister station, 590 KSUB, up in Cedar City. We've got Dixie Pineview, which is the game I'll be at on ESPN 97.7. I think that's going to be a good game. And then we've got Snow Canyon at Crimson on 890 KDXU, which I think will be a good game. What do you got, Sambo?
Sport Hole, who's your Region 9 MVP so far this season?
I think it's McCord Christiansen for Crimson. I mean, McCord has, at this point in the season, he's got 774 rushing yards. He had 211 against Desert Hills, 174 against Cedar, 235 against Springville. That's 3 games in a row. He had 108 against Morgan. His only game he didn't go over 100 was Bingham. He still had 20 carries. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns?
Yes.
Is that what you have?
Yes.
So he's probably top for me. If you go through each team, I think Cedar, Everett Kelling, he's been tremendous. I mean, if it's not Crew Giles, it's Overson. If it's not Overson, it's the other kid who had a huge game last week. Kelling's got 13 touchdowns this year, over 1,000-yard, and 59% completion percentage for Cedar. So he's probably Cedar's guy. Austin McRoberts, Hurricane, 300 rush yards, 300 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns this year for McRoberts. One of those is a return touchdown. Dixie, I would probably go, it's Rand Sawyer, but because he was hurt, it's like maybe you go with somebody like Isa Lopati. Usually these go to skill position guys. Isa does it all. He played a lot of offense in their last game against Hurricane. He's a D1 kid. So Rand Sawyer's incredible. So it's between those two probably. I'm just talking at this point, Larry, in the season, right? Pineview, I mean, Levi Shaw has been awesome this year. I know they've lost, but good receiving core in Quade Sorensen and Fia, and Brock Harris has 5 touchdowns, and Kyle Richardson is running the ball well. But I think if you had to pick one, you go with the quarterback, and Levi's been really impressive so far this season. In fact, we're going to have him on Quarterback U later on in the week, right?
Yes.
And then you go to Snow Canyon, and you probably go Joe Mack. You could probably pick somebody like Karsten Stewart, somebody who goes both ways, Max Reynolds. If you pick a defensive guy, if you pick an offensive guy, it's probably got to be Joe Mack. 14 touchdowns this year. Close to being their leading rusher as well at the quarterback position. We'd have to double check that, Larry, but he runs the ball really well. And just had a big region win. 1-0 in region play are the Snow Canyon Warriors. And then Desert Hills, if you're going offense, you're going Titan Mason. So if McCord's got 774, do you have Titans total, Larry?
No.
Let's get Titans total and compare and kind of gauge the pacing. Titan had over 2,000 yards last year. We'll see if that's incredible, but we'll see if he's pacing towards that. We'll see where he's at compared to McCord Christiansen. Region 9 game day this Friday starting at 5 p.m. on ESPN 97.7. Built by Bucks Ace Hardware.
The Sport Hole.
Sports.
All right, Larry, we got the Polygraph presser, right?
Yes.
This is where, Larry, now the coaches have their regular press conferences on Tuesdays. And then we've negotiated with some of them. I mean, I think we only got Satake and Whittingham again this week, right, Larry?
Yes.
We didn't get Anderson. We didn't get Fitzgerald. We didn't get Dreiling, and we didn't get the coach from Weber State, whose name is escaping me right now. Right? You just got the two?
Yes.
You got the two that won, I guess.
Yes.
All right, let's do it. It's a lie detector bit, right? That's the whole point of this. Okay. Let's start with Coach Satake, who beat Wyoming to a pulp this week on the road, Larry.
It's time for the Polygraph Presser.
Coach Satake, how do you feel about the game on Saturday?
They're all well-coached teams, and then with tons of talent.
Remember, Coach, you're on the Polygraph. Try again, please.
Look, Retzlaff played great against a team that's worse than a lot of high school teams. I seriously haven't seen a Wyoming team play that bad since back when we were beating them by 50 in the 90s. They were terrible. Our stupid linemen finally run blocked a tad, even though our running backs run like old men. Geez, is that the real Miles Davis out there? He sure runs like him. Slow, broken down, can't find the hole. He's like Rory McIlroy in majors. Laramie is a hellhole. I hate going there. It's like going to a 5-square-mile Walmart with bad lighting. Usually they have some rednecks who actually want to hit a little bit. But this group should be FCS. They really should. And now that the Mountain West is falling apart, maybe they should head down.
That's insulting.
They stink. If I was Josh Allen, I'd have my diploma expunged or whatever. But look, our defense was good. I'll take the credit for that. Jay Hill is always wanting to blitz every play. I'm like, Jay, they're not Poland. Relax. Let's just play base. But he's a little revved up and a little overrated. I brought him here, got him a huge salary, and now he's coming for my job. Tyler Batty is good. Jack Kelly is good. Jacob Robinson is good. So we might be okay. We might be able to get into the TaxAct.com bowl or whatever. Anyway, Kansas State sucks. Pound the Cougars with the points.
Okay, so Coach Satake there, pretty confident about their upcoming game against Kansas State. Pretty positive about his team. That was, I tend to agree with fake Coach Satake there that Wyoming, that's one of the worst Wyoming teams I've seen in a long time. But the Cougars took care of business as they're supposed to. Hey, look, you're a Power 4 team. You're playing a low-level Group of 5 team. You're supposed to beat them by 20 or whatever it was. They were favored by 10 on the road, and they covered by 10. If you look at BYU, I don't remember what SIU's was, Larry, but they were supposed to lose by about 9 to SMU. They end up winning. They end up winning by 3, so that's a plus 12 point whatever against the spread in that game, and then they're plus 10 against Wyoming. That's 22-point differential, and I can't remember what SIU's was. I can't even remember what the score in that game was, but Coach Satake pretty fired up about the big game on Friday against Kansas State at LaVell Edwards Stadium. All right, let's go to Coach Whittingham, who got the win on the road against Utah State.
Coach Whittingham, how do you feel about the game on Saturday?
Our culture is, whatever it takes to win, it doesn't matter. Some weeks it's going to be, more reliant on one phase than the other.
Remember, Coach, you're on the Polygraph. Try again, please.
It was good to see Piggy out there running around again. The little bastard gave us a scare, didn't he? But look, they had no chance of really winning. We weren't even playing hard. We left most of our guys at the hotel. Cam is such a little prima donna dude. He didn't want to play. He's running a pretty good Ponzi scheme, honestly. I buy him a truck, get him on America First commercials, and he's played in 2 games in 2 years. I wish I had that deal. Isaac Wilson is better than him anyway. Can't wait till he's gone. We've got that nut job Gundy this week with his stupid hairdo. Stillwater is like West Valley. You don't want to be caught there at night, and it's going to be a tough game. But their quarterback should be playing pickleball, not college football. The guy's old as hell, and he's not terribly good. Ollie Gordon's one of these guys who has one good year in crappy conference. Then everyone realizes he runs a 4.6 40, and all the scouts move on. Anyway, we're tight end university. Kids come from miles to play for me. Keithy made some plays. Who I've been happy with is Mekhi Bernard. He lost us that Rose Bowl a couple years ago and then wanted to transfer to the school down south, but we upped his salary, and he's actually running hard finally. Anyway, Oklahoma State sucks. Pound the Utes -2 on the road.
Wow. So he's bullish, too, on his own team on the road. You hear the real Kyle Whittingham on Fridays at 4. We play the Kyle Whittingham Coaches Show going into the weekend. And we'll have that game for you as well on ESPN 97.7. The BYU game will be on 890 KDXU. And the line has moved in that game quite a bit. It was Oklahoma State was favored. When that line came out, Oklahoma State was favored by 2.5, and now Utah is favored by 2. So that's quite a swing. I don't know if there were questions about Rising, and then the idea is, he's obviously going to play, and then the line moved or what happened there. But appreciate you, Larry. I know it's hard to go and ask tough questions to these guys, especially when they have to tell the truth because they're wearing the lie detector.
Yes.
You do a fine job, and you show up every day, and we appreciate that about you. Thank you, Larry.
The Sport Hole.
Sports. Wilson. End zone. Caught. Caleb Lohner.
Sporty, should Utah college football teams add a talent fee to their ticket prices?
Well, that's what Tennessee's doing. The University of Tennessee continues to try and find ways to raise money for the upcoming revenue sharing with student athletes, and they've come up with an interesting solution. Starting in 2025, the Volunteers will add a 10% talent fee to season tickets for fans of the Vols, along with an increase in ticket prices of an average overall 4.5% increase. The decision to make this move now all goes back to the school trying to get out ahead of the upcoming House versus NCAA settlement that is going to change how student athletes are paid by the schools themselves. Basically, the schools are paying the kids directly going forward. Yeah, of course. I wouldn't just have it be season ticket holders, any ticket. Just add a 10%. You tell the fans, hey, look, it's going to Cam. Or it's going to Isaac or whoever. Or it's going to the next guy who we're trying to buy in the transfer portal. I think fans would be much more... Here's the thing about these collectives. The average fan isn't donating to these collectives. Like, all the Cougar boarders for BYU, it's not like they're donating $20 a month to the Royal Blue. They're getting those... I think they're getting those donations from big money people. Like Kevin Young is buying these players on the basketball team from big donations from multimillionaires or billionaires. I don't think it's the bulk of the money isn't just coming from the average fan. I mean, how many people out there listening, do you pay your favorite team's NIL group? Probably not. I don't. But if you're buying a ticket, you're kind of forced to. And then when you're told, hey, this is so we can pay this kid we're getting from Georgia to come here, I think more fans would be willing to do that. You're contributing directly to the NIL collective. Georgia, by the way, just signed a law that schools can directly pay athletes. My question with that is, I like I like the idea of buying out the athletes' NIL rights, meaning, hey, we own you again. We're back to owning you. You can't go out and make money anywhere else because we bought your NIL rights. We're paying you a blanket fee to play football here. And it's going to be, by the way, a lot less than whatever the heck you're making now, right? And it's probably going to have to be distributed for Title IX purposes, meaning every student athlete probably is going to need to get some. So I'm not sure how that's all going to work, but it's a move to make college football great again, right, Larry?
Yes.
Decisions are solely being made now based on money. And they used to be made based on building you're supposed to build a program. That's what's supposed to entice the kids, is the program itself. The coaching, the things written in vinyl on the walls, your history of winning, your development of NFL players. That's what's supposed to win your recruiting battles. That's how it used to be. And you exploited the athletes. Now we go back to exploiting the athletes again, but, they get a little money. So it's best of both worlds, right?
Yes.
So, yes, I would do this. In fact, I would take it a step further and say, look, we're just going to have let's not do that. Never mind. I was going to say something ridiculous. So, X that. Cancel that talking point, Larry.
I heard Andy Reid is coming to BYU next year. I heard it from a friend's wife's boss, Essential Oil representative, who has a friend who works with Tom Homo's Grubhub delivery boy, who said he read it on the Cougar Board.
Does a good job managing their offense. We got our hands full this week, just containing him and their run game for sure. I think the running backs run hard, and they've got great vision. They see the holes well. They've got power guys and they've got speed guys, and the quarterback just makes you have to play him so honestly because he can pull it at any time. But they can hurt you in so many ways in the run game, and the whole offensive line does a great job blocking for him.
Sport Hole. How bad is BYU going to lose on Saturday?
Well, that was Jay Hill, defensive coordinator for BYU, talking about Kansas State. I know I always have the blue-colored goggles on, Larry, but let me just kind of see if you can dig this. I think BYU is not going to be able to run against Kansas State. They've struggled to run really this year against even not great teams. Kansas State held Arizona to just 56 yards rushing, and that's supposed to be a pretty good running team with Quali Conley and the boys. They did give up a bunch to Tulane's lead back, Mekhi Hughes. He had 128. But I think this has got to be kind of a defense plus Retzlaff. Great defense plus Retzlaff having a no-turnover game, being a playmaker, converting with his feet, kind of having because Retzlaff in games against Big 12 teams hasn't been great. That's why going into this season, I was like, I don't think Retzlaff's your guy. At least Gary has experience going up against Big 12 teams and doing good and winning games. Retzlaff doesn't have that. Retzlaff looks good against SIU and against Wyoming, not good against SMU, and now he's got Kansas State, who is kind of Kansas State is like the Utah-type program traditionally in the Big 12, going back, right? Trench play, kind of boring quarterback, good running backs, coach stability, development, underrated, just kind of that like Wisconsin in the Big Ten. That's what Kansas State has been. And now Utah is trying to be that team going forward in the Big 12, kind of taking that role from Kansas State. So I have a lot of respect for Kansas State, and I like Chris Kleiman. In fact, here's their coach talking about BYU.
Football is really important at BYU, and they've had great tradition of football, and they're off to a 3-0 start. So I think that as well as the fact it's a great setting, it's a night game, it's on ESPN, it's going to attract a lot of viewers and attract a lot of fans. But the fact that you've got two undefeated teams that are playing pretty well now, I think it's just going to be a great atmosphere for college football.
BYU's going to be wearing their 96 Cotton Bowl jerseys that they beat Kansas State in back in 96, one of the best defenses in BYU history. Satake on that team. So it's going to be a great atmosphere at Lavelle Edwards Stadium. I think there's going to be mojo going that way towards BYU. So the line is 6. Kansas State favored by 6 in Provo. That game will be on KDXU. I'm just a little nervous about the burden that Retzlaff is going to have to carry in this game. Because Avery Johnson is a playmaker, and he's good, and he's an exciting to kind of continue my comparison with Kansas State and Utah, Utah finally has this exciting quarterback in Rising, even though he doesn't play. That's kind of Kansas State with Avery Johnson. This is a homegrown Kansas kid who they got to stay in town, and he is electric. I mean, he's tough. So BYU's defense is going to have to put pressure on him and keep him in the pocket and not let him go crazy running the ball and converting all these third downs. Biggest challenge of the year by far. But this isn't like Iowa State probably Retzlaff's worst game last year was Iowa State in Provo. He was bad. He was 10 of 26 for 100 yards, two interceptions, couldn't do anything. He's going to play better. In his Big 12 games this year, he's got to play better, but they're not going to be able to run. The good news for BYU fans is your defense has looked a lot better. So you can kind of condense the game and keep it close, and maybe you ride the wave of the ROC at home, Larry. I mean, I'm not making my pick yet. I'm just saying, no, I don't think, hold up, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't. And I said this a lot last year because I always hedge BYU and I'm positive about BYU. Based on what I've seen by BYU and how even with 4 guys, they're getting in there. And against SMU, I mean, they ended Preston Stone's career at SMU. He was so bad against BYU, even though he had won them their first game. He lost his job because BYU was hounding him. I mean, Batty and Banya and all these guys, Jack Kelly, Magnus Vermagnuson, they're all up in his business. And they ruined the kid. I mean, they just said, the coach just said, last year just said, this kid sucks. And then the other kid came in and he sucked against BYU. So BYU has a tendency to make these quarterbacks look bad this year, which is great. And Avery Johnson's new. I mean, he's young. He's fast, and but maybe they can kind of spook him a little bit. So, no, I do not think it's going to be a blowout. And I'll give you my pick on Thursdays like I always do, Larry.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think we can relate this back to education and how we are continuing to try to strive to
Thank you, Utah. Thank you, sweetheart.
Genius Orange Brony in the Sport Home.
All right, we got Greeny. Talking about Bryce Young. You heard it on ESPN 97.7 earlier today. Go ahead, Larry.
You look at Baker Mayfield, you look at Sam Darnold, and there's a million other examples.
Geno Smith.
Another
great one.
And I don't know if this applies to Bryce Young, but I think it does tell you giving up on young quarterbacks is probably a mistake. Playing them immediately is the real mistake. We have gotten to a place now where we throw these kids out there the second their rookie seasons start. See Sam Darnold with the Jets. See Zach Wilson, of all people, with the Jets. See Anthony Richardson. Do you realize Anthony Richardson has still started fewer games since high school than C.J. Stroud has played in the NFL alone?
Oh my gosh.
So I mean, we throw these kids out there, and then they make mistakes, and we say, oh, you can't do that. Oh, what's wrong with him? Oh, Bryce Young is a bust. No one should be... Bryce Young is playing on the worst team ever who couldn't get a coach. Dave Canales took that job because no one else would. Who would go work there with the general manager they have and the owner they have?
I agree. That's great. Fantastic. The problem is teams that start rookies, and every team just needs to be the Green Bay Packers and say, look, we're going to draft you, we're going to sit you for 4 years, and then we'll play you later, Especially, I mean, teams that draft a rookie and then ask them to take them to the playoffs in year one. That's what the Bears are wanting from Caleb Williams. It's tough. It's rare that happens. We saw it last year with Stroud, but most of these guys just aren't ready. And what Tom says is The offense is so you try to bring the offense down to what the rookie quarterback is capable of. So the offenses are being completely dumbed down because you've got to be, this quarterback isn't going to be ready to run all this crap, you know? So we got to dumb down the offense. We got to dumb down the throws. We got to make our offense more dumb, which isn't going to help him. So just go get a veteran who can run the offense and let the kids sit behind him for a couple of years, right? Yeah, I agree with Greeny. All right, we got to wrap it up. What do we got, Larry?
A no-hitter. If you have a sombrero, throw it to the sky.
This day in sports.
Shift is on for Bonds. Bonds hits one to left center field. He hits it well. Plesko back. It is out of here. Number 700.
On this day, September 17th, 2004, 20 years ago, exactly, Barry Bonds hits his 700th career home run. The greatest steroid user of all time. A lot of people use steroids. Not everybody hit as well as Barry. All right, quick break. Back after this on your local sports leader. Thanks for being with us.